You're not part of this family anymore. My father's words. Cold. Final. Over $15,000 I didn't have. But here's the thing. I'd been paying their mortgage for 3 years. It was 10:17 at night. I was crammed into my childhood bedroom, staring at a project spreadsheet. Launch in 2 weeks. My promotion depended on it. My phone buzzed. Dad. I picked up, expecting small talk. His voice cut through like ice. Hannah, your mother and I spoke with Ryan. He's letting you off the hook for Cabo. A tiny spark of relief hit me. Oh, great, Dad, because the project... But you're paying for the wedding's open bar. The air left my lungs. Tiffany's planner needs $15,000 by Friday. Dad, I don't have $15,000 for an open bar. His voice went flat, emotionless. Then you're not just skipping a party. You're skipping the wedding. And if you can't support your brother, you're not part of this family anymore. We mean it. Click. Deadline. Have you ever been pushed to the edge by your own blood? Drop your story in the comments. I stared at my black phone screen. Silence pressed in around me. Just the hum of my laptop. I didn't cry. I didn't throw anything. I didn't even feel angry. What I felt was clarity. Cold. Perfect. Clinical clarity. Like a complex equation finally simplifying to zero. My father's words weren't an emotional outburst. They were a business transaction. And I'd just been handed the termination clause. I closed the project spreadsheet. This wasn't family anymore. This was business. I logged into my bank, fingers moving fast, navigating to automatic payments. There it was. Auto draft to my parents' mortgage company. I'd set it up 3 years ago when Dad was in a tight spot. Supposed to be temporary. 6 months, tops. It had been 36. A box popped up. Are you sure you want to cancel this recurring payment? I thought about that $15,000. My support. My compassion. It had been overdrafted for the last time. Click confirm. Next, my cell phone provider's website. Family plan. I was the primary account holder. My 2 younger sisters, Megan and Zoe. My parents, Richard and Susan. I'd been paying the entire bill since my first promotion. I selected my father's number. My mother's number. Initiate transfer of ownership. New account holder. Susan's email. As of next billing cycle, those 2 lines would be on their own. I looked at the clock. 10:21 p.m. 4 minutes. 4 minutes to financially sever what my parents had just verbally destroyed. This wasn't revenge. It was accounting. I'd been the silent investor in their version of family, and my shares had just been declared worthless. So I balanced the books. You have to understand. That phone call wasn't isolated. It was the final entry in a ledger I'd been keeping for 32 years. My whole life, there were 2 sets of rules in our house. The set for Ryan, my golden child brother, and the set for me. When Ryan dropped out of college to find himself, my parents co-signed for a condo down payment, stable base to explore from. When I graduated with honors and a full-time job offer, a card. Inside, a $500 savings bond that wouldn't mature for 10 years. When my sisters needed college tuition and my parents didn't have it, I paid. Dad's truck broke down. I covered it. Bank threatening foreclosure 3 years ago. I took on the mortgage. Ryan, meanwhile, only ever took. Got the condo, got the endless support, got a cushy job at his new fiance's father's company. For years, I told myself it was just old-fashioned favoritism. I was the responsible one. But that night, staring at the confirmed cancellation notice, I finally understood. I wasn't the responsible one. I was the scapegoat. Psychologists have a name for this. Narcissistic family system. It's not really a family. It's a rigid structure of assigned roles. My parents, desperate to see themselves as perfect, anointed Ryan the golden child. Their extension, their trophy, the one who could do no wrong. But a system like that needs balance. All the disappointment, the failure, the resentment. It has to go somewhere. That's where I came in. The scapegoat. I existed to absorb their problems. If I succeeded, it was downplayed. If I failed, proof of my flaws. I was the pressure release valve keeping their perfect world from exploding. My value wasn't in my love or success. My value was in my function. Family ATM. family punching bag. When my father told me I was out for refusing to pay $15,000, he wasn't disowning a daughter. He was firing an employee who refused to do her job. That night wasn't a betrayal. It was just the end of a very, very long contract. This all started 3 weeks ago. I was back in my hometown in the Pacific Northwest, temporarily staying in that childhood bedroom, overseeing the most important project launch of my career, my shot at director level, laser-focused. My family, however, was only focused on one thing: Ryan's wedding. I finally met his fiancée, Tiffany. She was a lot. A caricature of Seattle new money, dripping in brand names, talking about her lifestyle blog like it was Fortune 500. The cultural clash in our modest bungalow was almost comical. The first real crack appeared when Tiffany announced the mandatory bachelorette party. 5 days. All inclusive. Cabo. Cost per person? $5,000. I cornered Mom in the kitchen. Mom, I can't go. $5,000 is one thing, but the launch is in 3 weeks. I cannot be in Mexico right now. Mom wrung her hands. Oh, Hannah, don't be difficult. Tiffany will be so upset. It's not being difficult. It's my job. I'll take her to a nice dinner. I'll buy them a great gift. But I can't go to Cabo. I politely declined in the family group chat. 3 minutes later, my phone rang. Tiffany. I stepped into the backyard. Hey, Tiffany, what's up? Her voice wasn't polite. It was a shriek. What do you mean, what's up? What is this text? You're not coming? I'm so sorry, Tiffany, but like I said, my project launches. Your project? She spat. You're trying to sabotage my wedding. That's what this is? You've been jealous of Ryan your entire life, and now you're trying to ruin my bachelorette party. I was stunned. Couldn't even speak. You think you're better than us with your little spreadsheets, don't you? She was screaming now, completely unhinged. Fine. If you're too broke to come, you at least owe us. Ryan and I talked. If you're going to stiff us on the party, you owe us $15,000 for the open bar to make up for it. I was standing next to my bedroom window, my laptop inside, still running. I'd just finished a 2-hour Zoom call, recording app still on. I hadn't hit stop. As Tiffany kept screaming about how selfish and ungrateful I was, I leaned into my bedroom, shocked turning to cold, the recording app, little red light blinking. I put the call on speaker, held it near the laptop's microphone. And if you don't pay, I'll make sure everyone in this family knows exactly what a jealous, selfish witch you are. I waited until she hung up in a rage, sat down at my desk, hit stop, file popped up. I renamed it Tiffany Extortion Audio. Saved. I didn't know what I'd use it for. I just knew. In my family, you always needed proof. After I cut the financial cords, the backlash was immediate. Not calls from my parents. Too proud for that. But notifications. My mother posted on Facebook. Vague, passive-aggressive. Some children forget who raised them, how sharp the serpent's tooth. My aunts and uncles chiming in, praying for you. You raised her right. Don't let her get away with this. I was officially the family villain, isolated. I moved out, into the corporate apartment my company offered weeks ago, threw myself into my project, working late, grateful for the silence, then a few days later, a text from a number I didn't recognize. Hannah, it's Zoe, using a friend's phone. Can you please meet me? Don't tell Mom or Dad. My heart hammered. I texted back. Coffee shop, next town over. When I saw her, I almost didn't recognize her. My youngest sister, always so full of life, looked exhausted, pale, dark circles under her eyes. She slid into the booth. The moment I asked if she was okay, she shattered, sobbing, right there in the coffee shop. Hannah, you were right. You were right about all of it. It's so much worse than you know. Slowly, she told me everything. After I left, Tiffany and my parents held a family meeting. Wedding still on, but they needed to cut costs. Tiffany had a brilliant idea. She's making us work for her, Zoe cried. Me and Megan. She calls us her unpaid interns for her stupid lifestyle blog. We're not helping with the wedding, Hannah. We're her staff. I just stared. We have to write 5 articles a day, manage her social media, pick up her dry cleaning, run her errands. She says it's to build our resumes. And Mom and Dad, they think it's great. They say we're paying our dues, showing family loyalty. The cold anger I'd felt that night turned hot. Toxic. This wasn't a family dispute anymore. This was exploitation. Basically, servitude. Why don't you just leave? My voice sharper than I intended. Zoe, why are you letting them do this? We can't, she whispered, looking around like Tiffany might appear. She told us if we complain, she'll tell Ryan you poisoned us against her. Then Ryan will leave and it'll be our fault the family broke up. Mom goes crazy every time we even look tired. That's when I understood. It's called learned helplessness. What happens when you're in a bad situation so long, you stop trying to escape. Your brain literally rewires itself, believes resistance is useless. It's not weakness, it's a survival mechanism, a cage built of fear and guilt. My parents and Tiffany held the key, reminding them every day they deserved to be there. My sisters weren't being passive, they were being held hostage. I looked at Zoe, my smart, funny, 19-year-old sister, now just a shell. The $15,000 demand wasn't the point. This was the criminal act, and this gave me all the justification I'd ever need. I left that coffee shop in a state of cold, white-hot rage. My sisters were 19 and 20 years old, not just being guilt-tripped, being used. This was no longer about me or $15,000. This was about liberating them. But I felt powerless. What could I do? Call my parents? They were endorsing it. Call the police? Tiffany would call it a family arrangement. For a week, I was stuck. Worked on my project with a sick, burning feeling in my stomach. Waiting. Then the email arrived. From my boss. FYI, final project review agenda. Set for the following Tuesday. I scanned the attendee list. My boss, regional director, and then a name I wasn't expecting. Gregory, CEO of the entire parent company, flying in from Seattle to sign off on my launch personally. My heart didn't just stop. It changed gears. Gregory, as in Gregory, Ryan's boss, as in Tiffany's father. Suddenly, the entire game board shifted. This was no longer messy family drama. This was high-stakes corporate liability. This man, the CEO of a company plastering family values all over its branding, had an executive in training, my brother Ryan, and a future family member, Tiffany, actively extorting $15,000 from a senior project manager at his own company. And worse, using 2 young women as unpaid personal labor. I went back to my presentation, polished every slide, checked every number, made sure it was the most flawless piece of work I'd ever produced. Then I created one new slide at the very end. Title: Appendix Potential HR and Brand Liabilities. I embedded the audio file. Day of the meeting. Boardroom tense. I delivered my presentation. Calm, precise, professional. I didn't just present the data, I owned it. When I finished, there was a small, respectful silence. Gregory, at the head of the table, nodded. Impressed. Great work, Hannah. Truly. This is exactly what we've been looking for. The room relaxed. Laptops closing. Gregory made small talk. I'm actually in town for the week. My daughter Tiffany's getting married. Marrying a great local kid, Ryan. You might know him. He's in our executive program. This was it. The moment. I kept my voice perfectly level. Gregory, before we finish, I have an ethical obligation to show you something. It's a potential liability I've become aware of. The room tensed again. I clicked to the appendix slide. Clicked the audio file. No sound in the boardroom but Tiffany's voice. Screaming. You're too broke to come. You at least owe us. Ryan and I talked. If you're going to stiff us on the party, you owe us $15,000 for the open bar to make up for it. As her voice echoed in that expensive, quiet room, I watched Gregory's face. Color drained. Pale. Then deep, mottled red. When the recording finished, the silence was absolute. He didn't yell, didn't look at me, just quietly said, "Come with me. Now." We drove to Ryan's condo in Gregory's black sedan. Silence heavier than anything I'd ever felt. We walked up. He opened the door without knocking. The scene inside was worse than Zoe described. Megan on her hands and knees, literally scrubbing the floor. Zoe at the dining table, surrounded by piles of cheap jewelry, labeling for Tiffany's blog, Tiffany on the sofa, scrolling through her phone. God, Megan, you missed a spot. Not even looking up. Tiffany, Gregory's voice. Low. She looked up. Face went white. Dad, oh my God, what's she doing here? Gregory just looked around, at my sisters frozen in fear, at the mess, at his daughter. What is this? Tiffany, seeing her power threatened, immediately attacked. She's trying to poison you. She's jealous of me and Ryan. Gestured to my sisters. They're just helping. It's what family does. Family. Family. Gregory's voice dangerously soft. You're extorting $15,000 from my employee and using your future sisters-in-law as servants. They're lucky, Tiffany shrieked. They're family. They should be grateful to help. That's it, Gregory snapped, the word like thunder. You're cut off. The wedding, the trust, the house, everything. You're done. Tiffany started screaming. Truly ugly, primal sound. But as she wound up, my brother Ryan, the golden child, finally spoke. Stepped in front of Tiffany, hands up, placating. Gregory, please. I think this is just a misunderstanding. The girls, they wanted to help. It's for the wedding. Gregory turned his cold CEO gaze on my brother. A misunderstanding? I have an employee, you, complicit in extorting another employee, using your own sisters as unpaid labor. You knew about this. Ryan's face went slick with sweat. Looked from Gregory to me to his screaming fiancé. Saw his condo, his cushy job, his entire future disappearing. And in that moment, the golden child did what he'd always been taught to do. He found someone else to blame. It wasn't me, voice cracking. It wasn't my idea. It was their idea. Ask Richard and Susan. Ask my parents. They're the ones who said Hannah owed us. They're the ones who said we had to get the money from her. Gregory just stared. Disgust absolute. He didn't even bother responding to Ryan. Looked past him, at me, at my sister still frozen by the door. Hannah, Megan, Zoe, let's go. That night, back in my quiet corporate apartment, my phone rang. My mother, Susan. I picked up, didn't say anything. Wall of sound, hysterical screaming, weeping. How could you? You've ruined him. You've ruined your brother. He lost everything. Tiffany's gone. His job is gone. You've destroyed this family. You've finally done it. I listened. The strangest thing happened. I felt nothing. No guilt, no anger, no sadness. Just noise. The sound of a broken system that had finally run out of parts to cannibalize. I know, I said quietly, and I hung up. My thumb hovered over her contact. Richard, Susan, Ryan. I blocked their numbers. One by one. There's this thing we're taught. That family is blood. That blood is a bond you can never break. That no matter how toxic, how abusive, how cruel they are, you have to hold on. Because they're family. But that's a lie. A lie abusers use to keep their victims in place. Sometimes the most profound act of love isn't holding on. It's letting go. Severing the tie isn't an act of hatred. It's an act of profound self-respect. It's not a rejection of family. It's a rejection of a dynamic that was killing you. It's the final, brave, painful, necessary choice to choose yourself. It's not a failure. It's a graduation. 6 months went by. My project was a massive success. Got the promotion. Director now. My own team. My own apartment back in the city. Far from that fading coastal town. One rainy Tuesday night, there was a knock on my door. I opened it. Standing in the hallway, soaked from the rain, were Megan and Zoe, each holding a single overstuffed suitcase. They looked terrified, and they looked free. "Hey, Hannah," Zoe whispered, voice shaky. "We finally left. Can we stay, just for a little while?" I didn't answer. I just smiled, and I held the door open wide. The final scene of my old life wasn't about revenge. It wasn't about winning or losing. It was this. The three of us sitting around my small dinner table, eating pizza out of a box, laughing. Finally, for the first time, a real family.